light of the many questions regarding Rabbi Tzuriel's opinion concerning pregnant women, nursing women on Yom Kippur, and the fact that Yom Kippur is just a few days away, I thought it would be good that we quickly review some of their opinions. First, we have over here the opinion of the Rambam in Ma'achalos Asuros. The Rambam talks about the concept of shiurim. That is, there is a threshold of forbidden food that one has to eat in order to be considered liable to punishment. And this rule apparently applies in situations also where it's not necessarily the food is a forbidden substance, but there's a general prohibition to eat. So we have here, for example, he says that a woman, if she's pregnant, she's supposed to be fasting on Yom Kippur, so she's supposed to not eat the holy foods in the temple. That's the case of here, Basar Kodesh or Basar Chazir. She smells Basar Kodesh, that's let's say chatos meat that only Kohanim should be eating, or Basar Chazir for some reason. Someone's roasting pig and she smells it, it's forbidden. So you just give her a little bit from the broth. It's not considered mamish, just the liquid that has the taste in there. And if that works, that's good enough. She's considered like she's in danger over here. And if not, you give her pachot mikashir. If you have to feed her of this forbidden food, so give her less. What's the shear? An olive size amount. So if you hold that an olive is pretty big, so we could get away with this. But the Rambam also, it seems from, as best we can tell, he believed that olives were the size of olives, which is about 3 to 5 cc. And that's the general rule. So this is what they apply on Yom Kippur whenever they say this. Here is the psak of the Shulchan Aruch. This psak of the Shulchan Aruch you could find in Psachim. It's a quote from Rava saying that women who are pregnant and nursing are supposed to fast. And I know it doesn't just mean to fast, by the way, it also means to afflict themselves, the usual afflictions of Yom Kippur, and mashlivot. That means they do it till the end. Not that they keep half a day, or they start late. It means they start with everybody and they finish the fast when everybody else does that when the stars come in. And it applies equally. And then it says over here that there is a dispensation. The Yoledeth is a woman who's just given birth. Usually, God willing, the ones who just gave birth are also nursing. But in this case, it's because of her situation that she's not supposed to be fasting at all in the first 3 days. And for the next 4 days, days 4 through 7, she says she still needs it, so they feed her. And then afterwards, after that week of giving birth, she's like other people. So this is what you could find, for example, the Rambam. This is generally the psak that Am Yisrael followed from time immemorial. Rabbi Yaakov Fisher, who was a posek of the 20th century, he was part of the Beis Din of the Badats. He wrote quite a few times. He wrote this. This is just a small quote you could find in various Svarim, and there's a longer quote. He says that nowadays women are much weaker. Women have been miscarrying because of the fast. So he says that all pregnant women, all the women, including in the 9th month. Why? Because they say, well, in the 9th month, if she starts to go into labor, so she'll just give birth. And even that's something he wants to avoid. Even going into labor a little bit early is dangerous. So they're supposed to be eating on Yom Kippur and less than the shear, which means, by the way, I wrote this over here. They generally say it's about if the shear is talking about liquid. So everybody agrees that 40 cc is less than a revi'it. Revi'it would be the shear. The minimum amount that we've been discussing until now was 75 cc. That's Rabbi Rabinovич's opinion in the Rambam. Generally speaking, most follow Rabbi Chaim's calculation, which is 86 cc. So they stick with 40 cc, which is about half of that amount. 40 cc every 10 minutes, and that applies to liquids and also, I guess, solid foods that you could stick into a space that big. So there's a cup that you get, mark out the 40 cc line. It's about half of one of the usual plastic disposable cups that are all over the place in this country. And she drinks that amount, and she eats that on a regular basis, okay, every few minutes when she needs to. That's what Rav Fisher said. Over here, we have Rabbi Rabinovич's opinion taken from Tchumen, and also I think it was republished in the Sefer Siach Nachum, where he also says that generally speaking, they have to fast. We'll read it inside. At the very least, all pregnant and nursing women are like sick people who are not in danger. as opposed to a sick person who is in danger. If she feels a weakness, or if she feels some sort of dizziness, or bechilot, that's nauseousness, or hakaot, if she's going to vomit, so her status is like someone sick. So now she's in danger. Someone who feels really bad, she's not feeling good at all, or she's going to faint, God forbid. So now she's also considered like chula in danger. What's the nafkamina? Chula in danger doesn't even have to sometimes stick to the shiurim. There's a danger, just eat all you can. So that's reminiscent of what the Rambam writes over here. A person who's been seized with bull moose, which is apparently some sort of terrible disease. Back then, I've seen different interpretations what is, but he has to be eaten. So you feed him whatever you can feed him until his eyes come back, until he looks like he's gone back to normal. And you should feed him ela mamarim benimsa. You just feed him whatever you can. Okay, but you should feed him the things that are less usser first. How do you know how bad a particular prohibition is? Well, you look at the punishment. There's no real Isser Nisa, fee of Nisa for, let's say, forbidden consumption. It usually ranges from kares, for eating on Yom Kippur, Caleb and Dam and things like that, to Malchus. And also there's certain things that person get Nisa B'di Shamayim. So just to know, if you, generally speaking, sticking with, let's say, the pork chops, that's just an Isser Malchus. That's what you start with, Traphus, etc. Rabinovich continues over here that it says the makom sheish chashash vlad le'aker. If you're worried, let's say, not talking about the woman herself or feeling, but you're worried about a miscarriage. Even if she doesn't feel weak, then you don't. There's a danger of miscarriage, so she is obligated to eat on Yom Kippur. Which starts, he says, there's a cutoff line over here. So that starts with the 5th month. So you have to watch out. So he says basically any woman that past the fifth month and on is in danger of miscarrying. He also says, like I said before, once you're in the 9th month, you can't say, well, what's the problem? So we'll just cause her to go into labor a little bit early. That's all. That's still a danger. And he also says, of course, if there's other factors, medical factors that could be in play, we have to watch out of making. We have to prevent her from going into an early labor. And then he mentions also shiur, less she should eat less than shiur every few minutes. Once again, this stays about 10 minutes. And if she needs to eat, here he's talking about drinking. If she needs to eat, also eat with shiur, like we said. And the good thing is they don't add up to that 40 cc. So she could drink, let's say, 35 cc and another 35. She could eat 35 cc of bread and say, well, that's adding up almost to a shiur, or a little bit more of each. No, the answer is that they don't add up. If she already is starting to feel birth pangs, what's called contractions, or her water's broken, or if she's bleeding, so of course she has to eat and drink without limit. Okay, I don't know. Sometimes women aren't exactly eating and drinking a lot once they're going to labor if they're at this advanced stage. And he says this is also the din. This thing on top that's talking about a woman in the first 30 days. A chaya is a woman who just gave birth, even if she's not nursing. And according to Marsham, she even has 24 months of this status, because usually women would nurse for 24 months. Now let's get to Rabbi Tzuriel's opinion. He was the latest one. So this is what he wrote. These paragraphs over here are available also from his article in Tlumen, which was written later, which takes into account what Rav Fisher wrote and what Rabbi Rabinovich wrote. By the way, I couldn't find anything what Rav Fisher says directly about women who are nursing, but there are many who say we're going to see that they're especially lenient with regards to nursing women. And over here, we have what Rav Tzuriel put out in his last year, that his, he didn't put out himself, he had it put out by his gabbai on the internet. So this is saying, and he was just quoting from someone else's sefer. So we're going to look into that because he endorsed what was said there. says, so this pregnant woman is generally healthy and everything's going fine, so she should fast Yom Kippur and not just say like Rav Fisher said, yes, don't fast at all. Rav Fisher said once she's pregnant, no fasting whatsoever. And Rav Tzuriel says, well, if she's doing fine, so there's no reason to take advantage of that heter. Rav Tzuriel based this on apparently research that he had seen and statistics compiled by the physicians at the Soroka Medical Center here in Israel regarding women who went into labor early, and they compared it to Jewish women to other non-Jewish women in this country, and showed that how the incidence of early labor and other major complications was brought on by fasting. The statistical analysis of Rav Tzuriel and his conclusions was highly disputed. Just a few years ago, where there was a give and take between him and Rabbi Aryeh Katz of Machon Shilo. So you could find that online. There was quite a lot of back and forth. He was also not as lenient as Rav Tzuriel was. I think that, though, like Rav Tzuriel says, I think for these cases, with regards to the pikuach nefesh, especially to the fetus, so my argument should win just because, when it regards to danger to life, so we follow the lenient opinion. So here's what he says concerning, let's say, a woman who's had two, or she was has some sort of difficult pregnancy, or she's feeling really weak. So then she could start relying on Rav Fisher's. He says goreif. It's a heter goreif, which means an all-inclusive heter, where he said all the women should just stop fasting. If she's in her ninth month, she should follow what Rabbi Mordechai Halperin said. What do you say? He says that when the ninth month, any woman ninth month should be drinking at least shirim. If she's sort of says here im sovelet mipachadin, and she has anxiety, it's a roof shakli. Then she also has general weakness, lethargy. Tish'al if niyom kippurim at the gynecolog. So she should consult with her doctor, consult with her doctor before Yom Kippur, if she should be fasting or not. And if she didn't ask the doctor, she didn't manage to do that. She suddenly becomes really weak during the fast day. So so she could follow also Rav Fisher in that case and eat and drink shiurim, but she should not rely on Rav Fisher as a leniency or a permission, just that everyone could just not fast on Yom Kippur. Here we have Rav Harari's opinion, which talks about the minikot, which talks about nursing. Generally speaking, like I said before, Rav Tzuriel was very insistent that these opinions be known. He put out a YouTube video just before his last Yom Kippur explaining all this. And there, I think if you listen closely in the Hebrew, I think he's a little bit more lenient than it appears from this article that he wrote in Tchumen from about 6 years ago. With regards to the women who are nursing, it says here, any woman who's nursing, worried that she won't have milk if she is going to fast, so she needs to drink on Yom Kippurim according to the Shurim. Once again, that's no more than 40 cc. Here it says 40 grams of water, but 40 grams of water is also has a volume of 40 cc and plentiful. But keep doing it every 10 minutes. So if she takes 40 cc every 10 minutes, so she could get almost a quarter of a liter every hour. There's certainly a worry. Sorry about that. There's certainly a worry that she's going to run out of milk. She's going to dehydrate from this. And this is also because based on the Gemara there, which says a child has to nurse. Okay? He relies on the milk. You could actually get to drinking a lot if you drink shirim. According to the Rambam also, according to the Rambam, they say that it doesn't have to wait so much between drinking these shirim. Okay, but at least he still has to stop between. She has to stop between the eatings. Eating has to be stopped with Kidei Achilat Kras, which is the 10 minutes. But perhaps drinking doesn't. The Rambam didn't. Remember, it's Kidei Achilat Kras. So a person is eating a certain amount of bread, so it takes them a certain amount of time. But for drinking, people can drink much larger amounts, so there's no shiur to stop the drinking. Okay, very interesting idea. Remember, this isn't a allowance. This is an obligation. She should start drinking, this nursing woman, already the night of Yom Kippur and not wait until the morning. He added, said the Varav Umrim Gabe Koltinok Ad Gil Kaftal Chodesh. That's Bar-Hayim. This applies to every child up until 24 months. Assuming the child is still nursing. And this even applies to a child who is not entirely nursing, but has already begun to eat baby food. It says here, mashed fruits and vegetables. Imo materna. Okay, I don't know why this word is or made supposed to be kamo. What about replacement baby food? Materna. Materna is one brand here in Israel, but it's also become like Kleenex and Quaker, the general name for the substance. So we said, and this is very important, this should be stressed. Can't rely on materna. The child receives antibodies from mother's milk, which is certainly irreplaceable. There is no replacement for such a thing, and it's kind of funny that we as human beings believe that we can create something that's completely artificial and say that should replace that which God created and set aside specifically for children. And the health effects who are not nursed and only fed materna and other things. But thank God, God allows them to survive and they end up healthy, but they miss out greatly. It shouldn't be used as a replacement whatsoever. Even if the child only nurses once a day, hadin king. This is the din. This is the rule. Because the mother's milk makes him immune to diseases. The Chazon wrote, any change, major change in the child's diet and nutrition is an issue of pikuach nefesh. It endangers the child's life. I brought their words. There are, of course, those who are more machmir tell nursing women, like the Shulchan Aruch, that nursing women should be fasting on Yom Kippur. The tzibur should know what these great rabbis have said. He continues over here. And Rav Harari also wrote about what he heard from Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. Once the woman is certain, she has confidence that she will have no problem with her milk supply due to the fast, so then she could fast and not drink. Some women, I guess, are strong and are able to do it. But if there is a doubt in the matter, she should drink shirim. This is Rav Arba. Late people are much weaker than they used to be. Not like in, let's say, Talmudic times. We're much weaker compared to everybody. And like we said before, yes, we're a generation of marshmallows because all sorts of factors. It was Sefer Tzorata Yoledet. This is a sefer that Rav Zilberstein put out. It talks about the Torah of the woman who's given birth. Chazon Ish also told the woman who's nursing she should drink shirim if she was worried that or it was a chashash. It was a worry. Apparently they were worried because the worry that the rabbis and the doctors worried that she wouldn't have any milk. And the Chen Katav Shmir Shabbos Kilchasa, that's Rav Neuvert, wrote Yisham in Neketh Asher Im Lo Tishtea Lo Tiela Kamut Nesapech L'Shilkel Halav. If a woman is nursing and she does not drink, she will not have be producing enough milk. The child's nutrition is depending on that. So if the mother fasts, the child is going to be the one put in danger. so she can drink on Yom Kippur. And he then added, perhaps she doesn't need to eat as long as she keeps drinking. As long as she's producing milk. Although, I guess maybe those will argue, women can't just drink liquids and she'll be nursing just fine. Maybe she needs to put a little food in there too. So it says she should drink shirim. Rav Neuver didn't give this heter when the child's already eating other foods. He also gave some advice. She should not go to the synagogue. That's going to cause her to have to drink. So maybe she get away with fasting. She's actually capable of fasting, but going to shul is what's going to make her break the fast. So she should not do that.
We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. If you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael or invite the rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org.